They want to raise your taxes. They're printing more money than ever before, and they're spending it like crazy. The U.S. government is out of control, and now one bank is warning a dire outcome could be ahead for the United States. I'm going to tell you what it is and what it means for you right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. I'm the author of this book and the founder of Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Go where you're treated best. Our 5 magic words have always meant not only go where there's more freedom, go where there are lower taxes, go where you feel more comfortable as a person. I think there are a lot of places out there where you can feel better just living and enjoying life. But it also means being aware of conditions that are happening around you. Now, I understand that an economic issue in the United States is not going to entirely just be relegated to the United States, but I think there are things you can do to protect yourself. And I want to share an article with you by a gentleman named Chris Talgo. This is in The Hill. And the article says, as the world economy awakens from a 15-month slumber caused by the pandemic, Deutsche Bank has launched a series of research articles to spark debate and discussion about pressing post-pandemic economic issues. On June 7th, Deutsche Bank issued its first report of the new series titled Inflation, the Defining Macro Story of This Decade. According to the report, U.S. macro policy and, indeed, the very role of government in the economy is undergoing the biggest shift in direction in 40 years. In turn, we are concerned that it will bring about uncomfortable levels of inflation. That could be deemed the understatement, considering that the U.S. economy is already experiencing uncomfortable inflation. Those have been the headlines recently, uncomfortable inflation. Consider, Chris Talgo says, based on the most recent inflation report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in April, the consumer price index for all urban consumers rose by 0.8%, rising 4.2% over the last 12 months. An inflation rate of 4.2% is more than uncomfortable, he says. But the looming threat of inflation seems to have fallen on deaf ears in Washington, as Congress has supercharged spending to levels unseen since World War II. As Deutsche Bank notes, the current fiscal stimulus is more comparable with that seen around World War II. Then U.S. deficits remain between 15% and 30% for 4 years. While there are many significant differences between the pandemic and World War II, we should note that annual inflation was 8.4%, 14.6%, and 7.7% in 1946, 47, and 48 after the economy normalized and pent-up demand was released. If the U.S. economy descends into an inflation spiral like that experienced after World War II, we could be on the brink of excruciating economic pain. The article continues that profligate spending by Congress is only part of the problem because, according to Deutsche Bank, monetary stimulus has been equally breathtaking. In numerical terms, the Fed's balance sheet has almost doubled during the pandemic to $8 trillion. That compares to the 2008 crisis when it was only a trillion, only a trillion, and then increased another $2 trillion in the subsequent 6 years. As any economist will tell you, printing gobs of money over a short period, which is what the Federal Reserve has done, is a key inflation ingredient. Now, a lot of you watching have been moving your money into cryptocurrencies. You've been moving your money into hard assets. Those are things that I think are increasingly important, but I want to put a nomad capitalist spin on this. I've always said diversification is important. If you live in the United States, if you have exposure to the United States, you're going to have exposure to the U.S. dollar. But I think what is important is this is an opportunity for you to go out and build up your portfolio of hard assets. That can play into other things that serve what you're trying to accomplish with your nomad capitalist plans. For example, you want to go and stock up. I saw a headline, is this the summer of gold ahead? Gold was up, had a great run through 2020, got beat up a little bit. Now people are coming back. Is this the summer of gold? Gold, silver, excellent opportunities to buy. And I work with people who have very low spreads on gold and silver. You can often buy it for cheaper. We have an article on nomadcapitalist.com about where to buy some of the cheapest gold and silver. And opportunity for it to be stored somewhere else with reduced geopolitical risk, reduced jurisdictional risk. Move it out of where you live, move it somewhere secure, move it into a vault where it has your name on it, where you have the serial numbers to your bars, it's your coins in a box, whatever. And use it as an opportunity to move some wealth out of the jurisdiction. I am not someone who wants to keep 100% of my money in cryptocurrency. I know many of you are, and that's fine. I've been working with a number of you. But I like to be diversified. I think having gold, silver stored somewhere else, great opportunity to be in a hard asset, great opportunity to take advantage of this situation, and also to have a non-reportable asset that's outside of the financial system. One thing I think is, gold, silver, precious metals are obviously, much more of a staid asset class than crypto. You have Western governments now saying on the tax return, hey, do you have any crypto? You have pressure heating up on, hey, tell us about your crypto deals. Going to exchanges, tax authorities beating up on exchanges. The fact that in the United States and many other places, you can just have gold, you can put that overseas, you can store it outside of the banking system, you can have access to it. Could be a private, vault, could be a private box you have somewhere in a private vault, not in the banking system, but you can legally do that. Are they more likely to change those rules to make it more difficult to have gold? At some point, they might just go crazy and go after everybody, which is why having a second passport, second residence, all those tools to where you can divorce yourself from a country that's gone mad are valuable. But I think that as a more state asset class, there's some value to precious metals. One thing I'm looking at that a lot of billionaires are looking at is farmland, productive real estate. I talked a little bit recently, and we discussed at Nomad Capitalist Live, our sold-out event, about how been looking at farmland in South America, been looking at something that you can not only have your own food in terms of fruits, in terms of vegetables, in terms of animals. You could have a lot of space. You could be left alone from a lot of the chaos going on in the world right now. You could get a second residence, get a second passport. Been looking at a couple different countries in South America. We talked about that at the event. That would be an asset class that I see a lot of people, and I'm hearing about a lot of people going and putting money into because they're not making any more land, and people are going to want. I mean, even if you just look at here where I'm at in Serbia right now, for example, when this all started, people started looking outside of Belgrade. Same thing in Colombia. Same thing in many places. They started looking at, okay, how do we move into a bit more suburban environment? How do we get a house? How do we get a backyard? How do we get more space? Right? Not just the dacha concept that's popular in some of the post-Soviet countries, but how do we perhaps move our entire operation? Let's sell the apartment because people are looking for core properties in city centers. We've talked about that. But how do we sell that for a good price and then move out into somewhere a bit further away where we can be, put some distance between ourselves and some of the chaos going on in the world right now. And so I think having land, not a bad thing to have. You could go out and buy, if you look at countries like Ecuador, very cheap property. Places like Georgia, very cheap. Those are accessible. Bulgaria, other places. And so I think that could be a good, investment class. Even in some places in Europe, you can get paid. Even in some places in South America, you can get paid for keeping trees on your land. Wouldn't it be the worst thing to do if everything fell apart to go down to your land with your 100 acres or whatever it is, and be able to live with trees and animals and all that, and potentially even make some money out of it. Hire a caretaker, have them sell the mangoes, have them sell the whatever. So hard assets. I think real estate. I talked about our trifecta method. Moving around the world and having homes. Take this opportunity. Get some real estate. Go to a country like a Turkey. Go to other countries that offer citizenship in the case of Turkey, residence in the case of other countries. Get your hands on some property. Don't go to the Caribbean and buy a timeshare, please. But get your hands on some property that can turn into immigration benefits. That's a place to go where you can, if you need to get out, go. If you want to get out because the taxes are too crazy, the policies are too crazy, you feel your kids aren't getting a good education, you can go to one of those places. So the answer to this, I think, is hard assets. And my spin on that is there are a lot of opportunities for you to get 2 for 1, 3 for 1 by going out and putting your money in hard assets, getting more financial privacy, do it legally, make sure you do that legally, getting wealth preservation, asset protection, getting immigration benefits. You can do that by putting your money into hard assets. And so if you were to diversify into these different pools of hard assets, you'd not only be moving your money out of countries where, by the way, who knows what they're going to do. When things get bad, not only could the financial system get bad, and then your taxes are going to go through the roof, asset confiscation could certainly be on the table. You're going to want a place to go. And by the way, part of the reason you want a place to go is not just the financial. You're not just going to be perhaps looking to divorce the financial system at that point. Look at the physical violence you've seen in some of the Western countries in the last year or two. Look at what the trend has been in the last 10 years. You think if things go badly, Robert Kiyosaki talked at Nomad Capitalist Live. Where are you going to go in 3 days? Where are you going to be in 3 days? Because the mob, the people out there, are not going to look at you favorably if you have something. You're going to want to go somewhere else. That's perhaps an extreme step, but look at what the trend has been in the U.S. and in other countries in the West. And so this, to me, is an opportunity. Certainly, it's a bad sign. I mean, Deutsche Bank is coming out in no uncertain terms and saying this is a problem. These are the kinds of people that generally put up these reports that kind of, nibble around the edges. They're coming out and saying it. This is a problem. And the Hill is saying it. And I think it's an opportunity to really go all in on a Nomad Capitalist strategy and get set up so when this happens, you're prepared and you've got other things that you're getting as a result of that as well. So people ask, Andrew, how do I get the most out of Nomad Capitalist? How do I begin my Nomad Capitalist journey? The first thing people do is they start right where you're at. They watch YouTube, they listen to podcasts, they read articles at nomadcapitalist.com. We've spent years creating thousands of pieces of free content so that you can get the vibe from someone who's actually done this, from someone who's actually been in your shoes. What they'll do next, they'll get a copy of the book. You can find it on Amazon. It costs a few bucks, and while it's not going to give you all the secrets, it's going to, again, give you more of the vibe. You're going to learn a lot of the things that I've learned. You're going to learn some strategies you can employ, and you're going to get a lot further in your journey. From there, if you are the 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur investor, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com. You can click Become a Client. We're pretty busy these days, but we have availability to help a limited number of people who want to create a holistic plan, something that I think is so important. So if you want to do that, go to nomadcapitalist.com, click Become a Client, learn more about how it works and how we can help you.